Welcome to the BJJ Mental Coach Podcast, episode 148. I'm your host, Gustavo Dantas, and today we have Kevin Lucas. He is the co-founder of New Hope Regeneration. They offer stem cell treatments. And if you've been listening to the podcast for a little bit, or at least the last 2 or 3 episodes, I have mentioned to you about New Hope and my experience with the treatment. I was struggling with neck issues last year. Started really bugging me. I couldn't train. Teaching started becoming a problem, and doing therapy and everything and physical therapy. And got to a point that I'm like, man, I need to do something about it. In December, I actually did the process, the treatment, and man, 2 months later, start feeling better. And fast forward now to July 2024, I was able to get back to training, teaching, and competing. So super exciting. And today I'm having a co-host, Bruno Bastos, personal friend of mine. I was at his school, Bastos BJJ in Midland, Texas, a couple weeks ago. Beautiful academy and massive kids program. So he had shared with me that he went through the treatment twice before. So I was like, well, it's always nice that did you hear, you're going to experience something and someone has actually done it before. So that was cool. And he mentioned how the impact in his life. So I decided, you know what, that would be cool to bring him to the conversation as well. So just a quick bio here for Kevin. Kevin Lucas is a health and wellness advocate, entrepreneur, and public speaker dedicated to helping patients manage chronic pain and health challenges. Starting as a board certified advanced structural integrator, Kevin worked with clients suffering from MS, autoimmune conditions, Parkinson's, fibromyalgia, and more. In 2015, he co-founded New Hope Regeneration, focusing on regenerative therapy for anti-inflammatory and immunomodulatory benefits. His mission is to help people live their best lives and serve others. Kevin's martial arts journey began in childhood and later transitioned to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, inspired by his brother, Jamie Riedinger. Hopefully that's how I pronounced right. A multiple-time IBJJF Nationals Pans and World Master Champion. Kevin and his team at New Hope Regeneration are committed to supporting fighters and their families in becoming the best versions of themselves. So just a unique curiosity per se of this episode. All the guests so far were from blue to black belt. Kevin is the first one that is about to get his blue, but not quite yet. So technically still a white belt. But what matters is the educational aspect. That's what I'm not here to really necessarily talk about jiu-jitsu. We're here to talk about stem cell treatment and how can that possibly benefit you. So if you want to get involved with New Hope or not, but just understand like, hey, there's a lot of new science coming out and to optimize your life. So if it's something that maybe interests you, research a little more. So I hope you enjoyed the episode. Woos. Welcome to the podcast, guys. Thank you so much, Kevin and Bruno. Kevin, how are you doing today?
I am blessed and highly favored and so excited that I get to spend the next little bit with you two amazing gentlemen.
Awesome. Bruno, how you feeling? You just said you just finished training right now.
Yeah, I already have the strength and conditioning session. Then I have to run the Pen Kids camp, which is like kids from 7 years old to 15 years old. So there's a challenge, of course. And then I had competition training, preparing for Master Worlds. But like every time that I talk with that, every time that I feel tired or anything, I remember myself that I'm living the dream that I had like years ago, right? And
Yeah.
then now getting to spend the time with my brother Gustavo Dantas and a very good friend of mine, Kevin Lucas. So excited to be here with you guys.
Yeah, I was watching, and I'm still watching the newest interview that he gave with JJ Cria.
Mm-hmm.
And talking about, for people who are listening, maybe don't know much about Bruno and his work. He's got a school in Midland, Texas, and he was watching. I'm still watching the podcast interview that he was in Brazil he took 9 kids to compete at the Brazilian National. That's kind of a lot of responsibility.
Yep.
Honestly, if you ask me, I'd be like, yeah, no, I pass. I don't want to do that. But you can imagine the mental and emotional challenge. I'm not even talking about logistics. I'm talking
Yeah.
about mental and emotional challenges. How was that experience?
Mm-hmm. And Gustavo, I don't want to lie, man. It took me 3 to 4 days after coming back to recover. Like
I imagine.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Just the emotional one because first the responsibility. 90 kids with 5 parents, so 14 foreign people to Brazil, like 14 people that don't speak Portuguese, 14 people that like depending on me, not only the kids, the parents as well, like everything really like, oh, what Bruno says, where Bruno goes, what time has to be, coordinating taxis, Uber, like all it was like, and then goes to the tournament, the whole course of emotions, the kids that win, the kids that doesn't win, and then the parents' emotions with the kids' emotions. So and then my 2 children compete as well, right? So you put all that together, like took me 3 to 4 days to recover. But I'll be honest, I'm ready for next year again because
Mhm.
everyone that went this year want to go again, and now all the kids want to go. So now I'm thinking like, man, more than like let's go to 2 digits, like kids, like maybe 10, maybe 14 kids. But one thing that I love about that is to get those kids to experience something they never imagined that they could.
Yeah.
Their parents to see their kids going through that or something that then parents never imagined their kids could experience like with jiu-jitsu at least, right? And you guys know like Midland is not a big town. I always joke the beautiful Midland, Texas, right? But just in the middle of the desert, nothing much to do, like no ocean, no lakes, no mountains, no. All right, and then like I think for kids of a small town to just like I remember in the beginning of the program, the kids program, just to go like the 5 hours drive to Dallas. For some kids, like, oh my God, I'm going to Dallas. And now to see the kids flying overseas to compete, I think for me is the priceless thing. See them interacting with kids from Brazil that don't have nothing. Jiu-jitsu is the only thing that they have. See them playing with the kids, like, and then like you like born and raised in Brazil, Gustavo, like like how we're gonna like create things to play with because you don't have anything and see the kids interacting and then playing and then sharing experiences and then the kids from Brazil trying to communicate with them. I mean, like, for me, that like is like way beyond jiu-jitsu. That's worth like I'm not. It's nice the medals, gold, silver, bronze, whatever, but those situations for me are what I'm looking for. So yeah, exhausting but priceless. So I will keep being crazy and doing it.
And for people who are listening and maybe you've never been to Brazil or have never watched maybe some tournaments in Brazil, uh, compared to most of the listeners in the United States, but I have people all over the world. But
Mhm.
there's no period. There's no other place like Brazil as far as like, dude, this is loud, and there's a lot of noise. So a lot of if you imagine like a lot of adults go there and kind of like boom, kind of get hit in the chest. Like, oh my God.
Mhm.
Imagine for a child like screaming, you don't understand the language. I'm like, like parents going insane. It's so loud and be able uh, to perform in the middle of the chaos.
Mhm.
It's such an incredible experience that people don't realize, you know what I mean, that's priceless, an experience that they will take for the rest of their lives,
Mhm.
of like of performing under pressure, giving a meeting in front of people to be like, dude, I went to Brazil to compete, the like that madness. So I feel that that is a great, I don't know how you notice that on their like a confidence boost on them, you know, especially after
Mhm.
trips like that. But dude, it's such an like priceless experience.
All of them, they are different kids now already. Um, and regardless of the outcome, like 4 kids got gold, 1 silver, 1 bronze, 3 kids didn't get like a medals. But regardless of the outcome, like one thing that I tell them, they experience on that weekend in Brazil emotions and situations that a person will not experience in their lifetime.
Yeah.
And again, goes back for like why the, everything for me needs to have a why, right? And that's the why, like I said in the beginning, like get them to experience that. The truth is, I don't know if any of them are gonna become like jiu-jitsu athletes, if they're gonna make a living of jiu-jitsu, or like I don't know what they're gonna choose, but I know that whatever they choose, experience like that gonna put them on a path of high standards and perform in whatever field they choose to work to perform at the highest level possible. So again, I think for me, when comes like we always talk about just to be like amazing to personal development, and we talk about competition enhancing that too, right? And when you go like out of your country and then like that pressure, we talk about the noise and everything. I'll never forget first time I took João was 2 years ago. We walked into the arena, he said like, "Whoa, it's so loud." That's the only thing he said, right? Um, my daughter, she's still on an age that I can be my side, and she cannot hear everything in Brazil. That's how loud it is. And then like you said, like the pressure, um, and like I feel like when I'm interacting with them on a daily basis now, like we've been a few weeks that we have went there, all of them different kids, regardless of the outcome that they had there, regardless of the outcome, and then um, the trust of the parents to do that is something that's priceless as well. So I'm very grateful for that. The feedback of the parents from the trip because they didn't know what to expect as well,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I'm really glad with how everything went. Um, and again, like now I'm planning over 10 kids for next year.
Beautiful. It's amazing. So one of the reasons I called Bruno for this episode too, because he has experienced New Hope Regeneration as well, have a relationship with Kevin. So Kevin, so we're gonna talk about what and exactly is the stem cell treatment, the beginning, early everything. So, but right now, just talk about how is New Hope Regeneration now, and how many cities you guys are at. For people maybe being competing in the IBJJF scene, has seen you guys in other shows. You guys are being super active in a bunch of organizations here at the Arizona Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu League as well. So tell us more what's going on with New Hope right now.
Yeah, I just kind of pinch myself every day that we get to help as many people as we do. We've been doing regenerative therapy for 8 years, but about 3.5 years ago, we really took that big leap into the jiu-jitsu world. My brother has an academy up in Spokane, Washington, and he was at a point where he's a double gold champion at a PANS, Master Worlds, American Nationals. But he was at a point where he thought he was going to have to quit training. He couldn't even hold a coffee cup. He had a bunch of herniations, in his neck, and just was struggling, and grips were, almost impossible. And he was devastated because jujitsu changed his life in a really powerful way. And so, fast forward to, where we're at now, knowing that that's where we started kind of in the jujitsu world. And, we're getting ready to open up our 9th location. I'm actually leaving for Louisville to do some training for our team up there. So we have offices or locations that we do therapy in 9 states now, and so pretty much from coast to coast, north to south. It's really just a big blessing, and I really think that the reason that the jiu-jitsu world loves this so much is, as Bruno so perfectly said, people have to have a why. Right. You know, when I'm working, let's say with the general public, or I have a client who wants to improve their health and wellness, or they want to maybe decrease some pain, but really all they want to do is watch more TV and sit on their couch more. It's not the same as when I have, you know, a man or a woman, you know, or a mom or a dad who's training jujitsu and wants to be on the mats. They want to be there with their kids. They want to be there with their teammates. And so this explosion that we've seen in jujitsu is really amazing. And we just really, truly, I pinch myself every day. I have amazing men and women like the two of you who, you know, just kind of welcome me with open arms and allow me to, you know, spend time with you. You allow us to, you know, share our mission of helping other people with your tribe and your students. We've been heavy with IBJJF for the last 3 years, and we're at PANS and Master Worlds, and getting ready for our 3rd year at Master Worlds. But now we're partnered with the PGF, the amazing league that, you know, Brand McCaughrean's put together. We're partnered with Subversive Jiu-Jitsu Combat League, and every day, like, we literally get messages from, you know, another tournament series or another league asking us to, you know, come share the message of hope for healing. So and we have a funny little saying that, you know, where New Hope is, you know, we're delivering new hope, hope dealers making mat killers. And, you know, that really is kind of such a neat thing to see someone who was literally going to have to quit. Not even, what really blew my mind and broke my heart was, we had a professor in North Carolina who's in tears with me on the phone, and he's saying, Kevin, I'm going to have to sell my academy because I can't even teach fundamentals class 1 day a week anymore, because that one class, I now have to spend the next month recovering from that. And how can I be the leader of this school if I can't even teach fundamentals 1 day a week? And it really blew my mind how many professors and academy owners are at a similar level. Like, they just, it's all they can do to get back on the mats and lead and be with their people. And so the fact that we get to be part of that journey to see them make that turnaround is really just a blessing beyond measure.
Beautiful. Now, I mentioned to you that I wanted this episode to be like education for people who, man, I've heard of stem cell. I don't know much about it. So I want just to be open for you to share in whatever order you want of what is stem cell about and how your program with New Hope works.
Yeah. So what I love about jujitsu and what I love about regenerative therapy is that they're like simpatico. They're so similar to each other. And the best way to understand stem cells is that we all have stem cells in our body. We're born with stem cells. Stem cells are the cells that are responsible for telling our body to repair, to fight inflammation, for the tissues to get back on track, for the immune system to be functional and well and healthy. And what can happen is, as we get older, we just have less of those cells, and then the ones we do have are just not doing their jobs. And this is a really good example to understand how a stem cell works, is that I like to tell people that they're like the black belts in the academy, right? I can take a black belt, and that black belt can roll with every other belt, the brown belt, the purple belt, the white belt, the blue belt, and the black belt's going to know what to do and when to do it. But if I take that white belt and put it with the black belt, you know, or put it with another white belt, you know, we've all seen that happen as a white belt myself. You know, we just stop functioning, and then Mr. Bruno comes over and says, Kevin, frame here, or Kevin, put your foot there, and then it works again. I was able to do it the whole time, but something happened that stopped it from happening. Stem cells are like the black belts in your body. They just come over to whatever area is not doing its job the right way and tells it to start doing its job again. And as if by magic, whether it's a ligament or a tendon or a bone or a nerve or the stomach or the heart or the liver or the lungs, those stem cells tell those tissues to just start doing your job again. And this is why we see people who are getting back to being more healthy the way they were 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And so stem cells are the black belt of the cells in the body.
Nice.
You like that, Mr. Bruno?
I like this. I have heard that explanation from you before. And I like every time that I hear you explain that way, for me makes sense, and I enjoy because I experienced that myself with you guys, right? So I did a few years ago, and like I've been very vocal about how it changed my quality of life. So let's not even just talk about the just like quality life. It's like I working out, like
Mhm.
be able to like play with my kids whatever they want to play. Because before, like, okay, let's play a little soccer. Oh, my knee, my hip, my like, just like everything, right? So for me, it wasn't even just like jiu-jitsu. Of course, I make a living of jiu-jitsu, but for me, it wasn't even just jiu-jitsu. It was like the day-to-day things where I like to work out. I like to lift weights. So now, like sometimes I post on my Instagram, like me, like doing weightlifting. People like, oh my goodness, oh how can it? But like I enjoying so much now because like I don't even know for how many years I couldn't like work out.
Right.
And then like I was working out, but like with a lot of limitations. My strength and conditioning coach, he would do an amazing job on adapting uh workout for me, so I could like still be preventing injuries and be functional for jiu-jitsu, you know. But like since I have worked with New Hope and for me like it's like hard to not be like a little emotional because I know what it did for me, and then became a mission for me to share with many people as possible. That's why I have brought Kevin to my school, like, and then like introduce him to like introduce you to friends. And then sometimes nothing. I remember at Pens this year, one of my opponents was talking to me, and then I went to introduce him to you.
Yeah.
Because man, like I know, like yeah, we were opponents on the match, but we all had like Thiago, right? He has a beautiful family, he has like an academy, and I know what it is the struggle. So I was very happy that like even like some of my opponents, I introduced them to Kevin, because end of the day it's not about the medal, it's about like you enjoying your lifestyle, and then if competition is part of the lifestyle, you'll be able to enjoy them more. And then it's nice, we go like gonna be there master worlds in a couple of weeks, right? And then we're gonna be seeing ladies and gentlemen over 60 years old, some of them over 70 years old.
Yeah.
I really believe they're gonna create a master eight sometime soon. You know, but it's nice to see that everybody can enjoy something that they love, uh, because we have people like Kevin with New Hope that can make that possible.
Yeah, Bruno, you said something that was really powerful was, you found that you just didn't have the same limitations, and
Mm-hmm.
this is something that I really want people to understand, because there's some kind of misconception about regenerative therapy, and it's not anything that's new, it's not anything that's experimental. Rest of the world has been doing this as common healthcare practices since the 50s and 60s, right? And in the jiu-jitsu world, we hear a lot of guys going south of the border, right? Panama,
Mm-hmm.
Colombia, Costa
Mm-hmm.
Rica, Tijuana, right? We just weren't able to offer it in the United States until 2015, but rest of the world has literally been doing this for,
Mm-hmm.
half a century. And the coolest thing is that there really is no limitation, right? The most common question I get is, well, Kevin, can this help my X, Y, and Z? We all have our pain points or what I think I want to get better, but this is how I like to answer that. I'll say, well, Bruno, if your mom's car broke down, if the roof on your house was not, had leaks in it, if your brother's house flooded and you won Mega Millions, right? You would be able to help all of those situations, right? It wouldn't matter what the situation is. That's the way that regenerative therapy works. All of that's happening is that we're just introducing more of those black belt cells into your body. So now your body can catch up and start repairing the way that it was 5 years ago or 10 years ago. So, the most common thing we hear is like, man, Kevin, I just have so many less limitations. My energy is better. My recovery after my training is better. I have gas in the tank for the weekend, right? It's all I can do to get to work, get to training, and then still have something left over for my family and my kids on the weekend. And now that's no problem. So it's not that this is this magic bullet, like it's going to be like Wolverine, right? Where you can get shot and then your body spits the bullet out and you magically heal in 3 seconds. It's not like that. I can get stem cells every year and I could still get an injury, right? I can get stem cells and I can frame wrong or position wrong, or I can step off of a curb wrong and sprain my ankle, right? We just had that guy do that a couple of weeks ago. He's a black belt in Southern California and was longboarding with his son, and he fell off the longboard and dislocated his shoulder. So life can still happen, but being able to have the resources in your bank account to manage them as they're happening, that's the key. And that's ultimately what regenerative therapy is that it just boosts your body's ability to do what it's already doing.
Yeah, uh, from my experience with about, because last year, well, for people who are listening, the hardcore listeners, so just shout out there that have listened to all the episodes so far. But I have mentioned about New Hope Regeneration in some other episodes, so maybe you've heard, maybe some people are listening this for the first time. So I experienced December 1st last year. That's when I did my treatment. I was struggling with some issues on my neck, and yeah, man, for it's just out of like just out of a flight. um I just, when I woke up, like, it wasn't the flight, it's like, of course, accumulation of stuff, and then
Right.
it kind of happens that it trigger in a flight or whatever. And last year was all dedicated to physical therapy, trying to recoup, and got to a point that, man, I'm kind of running out of options here. And then was now starting to get worse for, I'm not even saying training, like teaching and basic stuff at home, starting to bother me. Like, man.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, with 2 months in, yeah, one day I woke up and I'm like, it's moving better. And I felt some blocks of improvement every like 2 weeks. Like I felt like almost like a little boost in range of motion, and I was able to start getting back to training February, and start to pick up more. And of course, I have bulging disc. I know I have a bunch of issues on my neck. This really attacked like the one that was aggravating the most. It doesn't mean that I'm healed forever. I hope so. It would be nice, but I have all kinds of different stuff going on in my spine.
Right.
But regarding to that, it's so much better that I was able to get back to train harder, like deal with other injuries, like you said, after. And so what I want to ask a few things for someone that is at home thinking like, this sounds good. So can uh I'm gonna throw a couple of things. Can anybody do it? Meaning, how early this type of treatment it's introduced? How late? Is there like an age limit? Is there any like specific condition that is not recommended for people to get involved with this treatment? So what do you say?
Yeah, so I want to do just a little bit of a clarification on language. So, in the United States, the reason that we say regenerative therapy or stem cell therapy is that because the stem cells are a natural substance, just like hormone or like vitamin C, the word that's attached to it is therapy and not treatment. So, like if you're looking up stem cells out of country, you'll see a lot of the clinics saying stem cell treatment, but in the United States, we have to use the word therapy. So, for the audience, for those of you, I get that question a lot. Well, why do you guys say therapy and they're saying treatment? And it's just a legalistic, a semantics that we have to follow for compliance in the United States. So we are not doing treatments because that's out of our scope of practice. So what we're offering is a natural therapy. In regards to age, Gustavo, this is the beautiful thing. We have clients that are 2 years old to 102 years old. There's really no limitation on who can come in and get therapy. This really is good for anybody who wants to see their body working more efficiently and working better. We just get to a point where we have certain things that are talking to us more loudly. It might be a shoulder, it might be a hip, it might be a back. Maybe for patient A, it's their GI tract is struggling and it's not working as well. And then they decide to move forward with getting therapy, and they find that, things are moving and working more efficiently, and they're recovering more efficiently. It's really fascinating to just see the giant list of people that we have coming into our office. Everybody from literally 2 and 3 year olds to people who are 102, The only limitation that I would say would be a person's mindset and what their goals are. If a person wants their body to be as healthy and functional as possible, we need a few things. We need good nutrition. We need good movement, right? And even if the movement can be rough on our body, like jujitsu, it's high mileage movement sometimes. And then having our cellular health as functional as possible is key to those three things. Now, of course, my body is miraculously and wondrously made, and I can see improvements without stem cells, that's for sure. But Gustavo, like you said earlier, like we just get to a point where things become like, man, even my simple things at home are becoming a little more challenging or a little more stressful or talking to me more. So, a lot of times in the jujitsu world, people will say, oh, well, I don't do jujitsu. I don't have the same shoulder problems someone like, Bruno would have. So why would this be beneficial for me? It really just comes down to, if you want your body to be functioning at its optimal, we want the cellular health to be as optimal as possible. And one of my favorite analogies, because we get a lot of healthy people that come in as well, or a spouse will come in for a health challenge, and then the other spouse who's super healthy and is super fit will say, well, I don't need it. I'm healthy enough. And my comment to them always is, well, what would it be like? Like if you make a good living right now, if you're making a living, you have a good job, you're providing for your family, what would it be like if you won Mega Millions, right? Would you say no to Mega Millions because you're already financially doing pretty okay? Or if you won Mega Millions, what could you do with that increased budget? Regenerative therapy is very similar. So even if I'm healthy, my body can implement this brand new giant flood of new cells that I have to be more efficient at what it's doing. Or if I'm a high mileage jujitsu body that's, really broken and has a lot of health issues, and I'm, in debt essentially, and I want to get out of debt, regenerative therapy can help the body make those transitions. That the most important thing, and what unfortunately happens in a lot of other areas or clinics though, is that they'll make claims. They'll say, we can guarantee if you come in and do stem cell therapy with us, we can guarantee the results are going to last for 15 years, right? Like nobody should be making any claims at all, whether that's in country or out of country. But what we do know is that if I can get, good seeds in the ground, if I can feed and water those seeds and have good sunshine, I'm probably going to have a pretty good garden that's fruitful and productive, right? If I can come to class 2 or 3 days a week, if I can keep my nutrition on point, I'm probably going to continue to excel in my jujitsu career. And it's very similar. And again, stem cells and jujitsu are so similar in their journey, in the improvements, in how things happen. And that's why I think it's always such a good fit. So 2 years old to 102 years old is a good candidate.
Now, what about frequency? So of course it would be depending on people. So I know that most people, I think the majority do it once and then kind of maybe don't do it again. Some people like to do it again. So what is, from all the studies, what is recommended? What would be like before that? We don't see any reason to make, like what is a good frame time?
Yeah, this is a good question. And I'm going to say my answer, and then I'll let Bruno maybe talk about this, because Bruno's had therapy with us a couple of times now. So he's been able to kind of see kind of that leapfrog effect that happens. So we've done over 300,000 therapies the last 8 years. And what we found is that about 85% of our clients have met their health goals with that one time. They come in, they're like, holy cow, A, B, and C, and D are all doing much better. Plus a couple of other things that I didn't expect to, see changes, got changes. So we're super happy. We're super excited. My body's working a lot better. The way to look at this is that it's kind of like a tank of gas, right? So if I'm going to leave San Diego and I'm going to drive to Phoenix, for example, right? And if I'm driving an old farm truck that gets 2 miles to the gallon, right? I am going to be able to leave San Diego and make it a ways, but I might not make it all the way without a fill up. Now, if I take a Prius, right, that gets 50 miles to the gallon, maybe I only need 1 tank of gas to get to my goal. So some of it is looking at the mileage that we're getting, you know, how heavy am I using my body? We do a tremendous amount of work with the veterans community and special forces and tier 1 operators. So we're talking about guys that have been blown up, shot, you know, beat up, stabbed, poisoned, you know, and then the training aspect on top of all of that. So we have some people that come in, you know, about 15% of our clients, they'll decide to do therapy maybe every 12 to 18 months or 24 months, depending. The vast majority, it's been 8 years and they're still feeling great and fantastic. But then the people who really prioritize their health and wellness, you know, they might look to do therapy every 12 to 18 months, depending on where they're at in their journey. Mr. Bruno, I know, you know, you got therapy and saw some really good changes. And then, you know, we did therapy again about 9 months later, and then it just took it a whole other level. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so like I did the first one, I want to say March of 2021. And then after a couple weeks, I could start feel like changes already. But then we did another one. I think it was less. I think it was 7 months later.
Yeah.
Because I remember that I did, yes, 6, 7, because I did it like end of September. And then I remember that I did, because many things, right? So 44, but 34 years of jiu-jitsu. Now, back then was 31 years of jiu-jitsu, non-stop, always competing, and then always training, right? So I had a problem. I have arthritis, and then like knees, elbows, shoulders, hips. Like, oh my goodness, Bruno, like I have a hernia of this between C5 and C6. Bruno, like, yeah, like all that, right? Like when you compete, like I compete most of my life in a high level. Like now you can say that I compete in high level for martial, yes. But I was like a professional athlete for like from when I was like young adult all the way to 34, 35. That's when I started like slow down with doing more on the master's division, right? Um, so I remember when I did the it's not that I did it, I had improvement with the first session, but I remember that Kevin spoke to me of how long I was doing, like, for lack of a better word, like damaging my body, right? And then that would be interesting if I could do another one a couple months later. And then so when I was able to do another one a couple months later, that's when I really see like the big improvement. I remember like a couple weeks after the second therapy session, some of my students like, Professor, what are you taking? I was like, what do you mean, what I'm taking? I was like, no, like, I'm not taking anything. And they're like, no, but like now you're moving this, you're doing that. And then like, I wasn't even like processing that I was doing stuff inside jiu-jitsu that I wasn't able to do, like,
Right.
I don't know even how long.
Yeah.
Like from like guard movements, passive movements, much more mobility, and that's when like really like like dang, like I'm able to do, and then I'm able to do that, and then like that's when like I already feeling difference in jiu-jitsu and on the workouts, but that's when like really like made like a big impact for me. And so I don't know. And then Kevin explained like every person different, and this like for me maybe because like from when I was 10 years old to 41 at that point that I did the therapy was then like overusing my body, let's put that way, right? Um, I can definitely see myself doing again because for me, like I don't stop. Like it's not about the training. For me, it's the teaching because like Gustavo
Mm-hmm.
teaches as well. So if you teach multiple classes a day, I see that nowadays it's not the training that hurts me. Sometimes it's gonna be the teaching, like how you have to repeat the same exact move,
Right.
or how many times like inside one class, and then you put that multiply for other classes that you teach, and then you multiply for the days of the week that you teach, then you multiply that on a month, and then when it's gonna be a crazy number, right? So it's something that I definitely see myself doing again because yeah, nobody sees getting younger, right? So now I'm 44. It's been 3 years since I gonna complete 3 years in September since I have done my last therapy session. I still feel pretty good. Gustavo was here a couple weeks ago to train, and then he saw me training. He said, "I'm going to work out." I come back, I train and teach, and occasionally take kids to Brazil and come back, and then
Right.
right. But I I've been like pretty healthy on that time frame, healthier than like previous years. Like I wanna say since healthier than I was since my early 30s. I wanna say because on my early 30s, that's when my body started taking the toll of like the training, the tournaments, and everything. So
Yeah.
um,
Well,
I'm
and
pretty happy with the results, and then like I can go back for what like Mr. Gavin said, like what are the person goals and how much gas you need on the tank
right.
to.
And for the audience, I know most of you guys know Bruno and how big Bruno is, but for those of you that don't know how big Bruno is, we're also talking about real estate, right? Right. So if I have to fill up a semi truck, or I have to fill up a regular pickup truck, or I have to fill up a motorcycle, that determines my gas my gas mileage as well. So Bruno might have needed a little bit more gas in the tank in the beginning compared to our average, but yeah, that really is the biggest blessing for us. And and why I get so excited, professors, is, for me, I don't believe there's anything in this country right now doing for communities that what jujitsu is doing, right? Unless you're blessed enough to find a really good church, which can be hard to do. This community and this jujitsu family, and I come from the traditional martial arts world, and when I first transitioned over to jujitsu, and especially when I went to Bruno's school for the first time, and Professor Ricardo Tubbs' school the first time, and I really saw what jujitsu is today, I felt compelled to help as many professors as possible try to be as healthy as possible, because when you don't get to class, and you don't get to teach, and you don't get to create and be there for your environment and for your coaches, right? This is something the two of you are amazing at. You guys are leaders that are really unprecedented. Your guys' leadership skill set and coaching other coaches to be good leaders is amazing. And so for me, every day I get to work with another professor or another coach, or even just a teammate, someone, Joe Bob, who shows up for class but couldn't come to class because he was having X, Y, and Z health issues, but now he gets stem cells and now he's feeling better. So now he gets to be there for his teammate. But you guys as professors, this really is my passion and my mission right now, and why we've gone so heavily into the jiu-jitsu world, and partnering with the academies, is that every day you guys get to come to class. You guys are there for people in a way that is missing in culture and community right now. And so, as Bruno said, like, the medals are awesome when you get on the podium, but it's all the other experiences that come from this. So for me, on the stem cell side, seeing someone say, "Man, my knee's feeling great," is really awesome. But seeing them at class with their partners, or taking their wife out on a date, or playing with their kids or their grandkids, like, those are the things that really keep me excited and motivated, and on the road as much as as I am away from my own family.
So someone is listening right now and they say, like, you know what, I kind of want to do this. What to expect during the procedure? So if you can say, like, hey,
Yeah.
how long is it going to be? What is it? Because before, like, I had no clue, and most people who are listening right now has no clue.
Right.
So what to you expect?
Yeah. So with New Hope Regeneration, our mission has been to make this as accessible and as easy as possible. We don't need to put a big old show on. You're going to come to the office. You're going to be at the office for about 30 minutes of total time to get the actual therapy. The therapy itself is very, very simple. We either can find a joint that you want to get the cells in, or we just find a good old vein and, put the cells right into your bloodstream, or we can do a combination of both, right? And that's the wildest part. When my friends that are, neurologists and oncologists and orthopedic, specialists come into the office for the first time, and they were like, "That's all that it is. That's all that it takes, for me to get these kinds of improvements." They're really blown away. So the simplicity of the therapy is that it's just a simple injection. On the front end of that, what I really love the most about our organization is that we want to build a relationship with you. We're not a stick you and send you kind of clinic. You know, we're a family environment. We treat people like family and community. And so for anybody who's interested in listening on the call, you can call in, you can contact us via the website, which we'll give as well, but we'll do a complimentary consultation. We're going to get you on the phone with one of our medical team. We're going to spend, 30 to 60 minutes talking with you about your goals. And, because it's not just about my knee hurts, it's about what are the things that you can't do because your body isn't working as well as what you want. So we're going to walk through all of that. And then if you feel like this is a good fit and you want to help your body get better, then when you come into the office, you're literally there 30 minutes of total time. It's a simple IV push or a simple joint injection or a muscular injection. It just depends on what the medical team decides and what you want to do in regards to receiving therapy. Super simple.
I don't. So now let's change gear a little bit. Let's talk a little bit of business, but mindset at the same time. So most people not everyone, of course, but this podcast is dedicated to a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners, community leaders, high performers. And I want you to go back when you started New Hope Regeneration. How was the mindset back then? Why I'm asking that, because it's probably someone who is listening today is in that position that, like, man, I really want to pursue this dream. I'm having this type of business, but right now I'm in a position that I'm safe. And if I leave this here, if it doesn't work, what's going to happen? I have my mortgage, I have my family. So for some people, the transition is smooth. For some people, not. Some easy. Sometimes it's just like, yo, this is all I have. So
Right.
how was for you mentally and emotionally speaking during that process?
Yeah, for me, I've had private practices for, going on 26 years now. And before we got into the regenerative therapy side, we were super successful. We had a private practice where we specialized in manual therapy, neurological re-education. I specialized in working with Parkinson's patients, MS patients, special needs kiddos, TBI, clients, and a huge list of other things. So when we decided to take that leap and take that risk, that was not necessarily me. I really want to be very clear. My belief and my faith is I finally listened to what, I believe God was asking me to do, because it didn't make sense, right? It didn't make sense to make this big shift into something that was new in this country at the time. And nobody, really not a lot of other people were doing it. But what was put into my heart one day was, Kevin, you've been helping a lot of people doing what you're doing, but you're only helping them manage their decline. They're not really getting better. They're not really making strong improvements. It's like putting the duct tape on the bumper, hoping I'm going to get 50 more miles out of the bumper. So now what I want you to do is I want you to step fully into this other thing that is going to be so much more helpful, but you have to take a leap because there's all of these risks that come with it by starting something completely new. And that isn't for everybody, right? Gustavo, you said it so perfectly, like, hey, I'm kind of comfortable in my job. We're going really well. I'm connected with the who's who over here. So if I start this next project, then I'm entering into unknown territory. And that's not easy to do at all. But I think if a person can really listen to when they're being directed by a higher being, everything will work out better than what you can imagine, but you have to be willing to take that risk. And a lot of us don't. I know I didn't for a big chapter of my life. I said no to this for like a year and a half. And I said, no, we're going to stay focused over here. We have an amazing school. We have a giant practice. I'm training people. I'm mentoring people and all these other things. And then I flipped it all, but it took me a year and a half of ignoring the messages that I was getting to make that leap. And then when I made that leap, I look at the success that we've accomplished in the jiu-jitsu world. Like, I'm nobody, like in the jiu-jitsu perspective, but all of the time I get asked, how do you get to hang out with Bruno? How do you get to spend time with Gustavo? How do you get to spend time with all of these amazing leaders in the industry when you've not even been in jiu-jitsu for long enough? And that's not me, that's God, in my opinion. But that was me willing to listen and actually listen versus ignoring what he was asking me to do for about a year and a half to 2 years.
Was there a specific event or experience like that caused you to like, you know what, boom, and then click?
100%. So I've been in education the whole time. I've been in private practice as well. We would teach other therapies or other therapists. I taught a lot of special needs organizations around the country how to work with children. And we, for about a decade and a half, for 15 years, 16 years, we were having crazy success. I would run my practice during the week. On the weekend, I would go do these amazing seminars and workshops and educational events. I would have 50, 100, 150 people in a room. Sometimes I was lecturing to thousands of people at a time. And all of a sudden, one day happened and we could not get people into our classes and our seminars if my life depended upon it. It didn't matter what we did, how we advertised, how like we were doing all the things that we had been doing. And literally it was like someone just shut it off. And I was trying to start that car that just wouldn't start. And finally I said, God, what on earth, why would you not want this happening? Because we're helping children, we're helping people have a better business and in the mentorship we were doing. Why would you want this to go away? And, lo and behold, now we're getting to do all those same things that we were doing. We just now get to do it at a higher level, but I didn't realize that. So it literally got shut off. We had 15 years of amazing success. And then all of a sudden the brakes were slammed on and we came to a grinding halt. And he was trying to tell me earlier, like he was like, hey, shift over here. And I just kept saying no. And finally he had to do that and shut it all down for me to finally listen.
Man, I was thinking as you speaking, there's something, again, maybe someone is listening for the first time of the podcast. Maybe you haven't heard, some of the things, some of the beliefs that sometimes I share. And one of them, years ago, I do my best to not label things positive or negative anymore. It's just desired and undesired events or outcomes. Because everyone, you guys, everyone who's listening right now, at some moment, something happened that you label as negative. Oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. And then you look back maybe 5 years ago and I was like, man, it sucked when it happened. Definitely was undesired, but I'm in a completely different position because I had to go through that.
Right.
So just with that itself, it should help you to accept, just the acceptance of it is what it is, dude.
Right.
It happened. It wasn't desired. Sure. You didn't want, the seminars to be empty. Like, no, I want them busy, and they led you to this path. So this is just something for everyone to reflect on, if you're like really carrying something that, oh my God, why this? One day you understand why. Maybe not, the answer doesn't come like exactly just like in jiu-jitsu. You don't get what you want anytime you want just because you want it. You know what I mean? And it's that's the time that you need. So I feel that this is just another classic example that more we can be mindful of labeling positive and negative. Of course, the undesired, sometimes it hurts, whatever that is, and you still understand why. It's always like, why? What am I going to learn from this? Like yesterday, I was doing a swimming workout, and then I'm swimming, and I kind of hurt my groin. So I'm thinking certain things, and I'm reflecting on, why am I going through this? What is this downtime is teaching me? And I was able to like pick up on a few things, that I had to adapt to my schedule, because I'm not, right now, like training jiu-jitsu really. I'm limited doing a conditioning part and stuff like that, but reflecting on like, okay, absolute is undesired, but and even the podcast was started because of this. some people have been listening for a while, maybe you know, but in 2018, I was thinking, I'm like, you know what? Um, I was around that time. I always had the idea of doing the podcast, but like, well, I already do too many things or whatever. So then 3 weeks before the Abu Dhabi World Pro in 2018, I dislocated my elbow really bad. And basically I have my pity party for like half an hour. And then it's kind of like, okay, that's an undesired outcome. What am I going to do with this? So basically in 3 weeks, I did a podcast course, had like a mentorship with this guy that's super knowledgeable, figured out what do I need to do in 3 weeks. And that was like, yeah, it was 3 weeks. And I announced and I launched during the world's adult weekend. That's when I released and already had like 5 episodes. Now I have like 140 something. And all started because my mind wasn't to that of like, dude, I can't do anything. I cannot teach. I can't, you know what I mean? Like I can't do anything. I have a cast, you know, so uh out of like an undesired position. So with that said, if you're listening right now and you're getting too caught up on like, oh my God, or whatever, think about some of the things that really helped you, you know, like throughout the time that it wasn't this, you know, undesired outcome, but now you're in a better position. Still with the business. So what do you feel that so far has been one of the biggest struggles on this part of, and because you had other businesses, but I'm saying regarding this, what is the challenge that maybe you're like, man, I wasn't expecting that?
Wow. The biggest one really is the misinformation about this industry and what it is and what it should be, and what people hear about regenerative therapy out of country. And so the therapy itself literally could take 15 seconds of total time. We might have 5 or 6 or 7 hours into educating a person about the truth of what this is versus what they read on or hear on Dr. Google or Dr. TikTok, right? Or they see a super famous jiu-jitsu personality talking about getting their man parts injected with stem cells. And so like they're hyper focused about, things that are maybe not as important. Or it's the biggest challenge that we run into is that we decided we wanted to make this available for as many people as possible. So we did something very special in the business world that most people don't do. Most of the time, you get what you pay for, right? So something typically that's more expensive is typically a better value. And that can be true most of the time, right? If I'm buying a car, I'm buying clothes, but we decided to flip the script and change that. So one of the biggest challenges that we run into is that, someone will say, well, I talked to such and such clinic out of country. It's going to be $50,000 for me to go here, right? Well, why are you guys only $6,500? It can't be the same thing. Right. So that's something that we run into all of the time, and we have to do a tremendous amount of education. And ultimately, it comes down to people just kind of have to take a leap and trust what we're doing. And a really good example to that is, if I asked you guys, and you don't need to tell the numbers on because we all know the average, student monthly rates, right? But, if let's say a monthly rate is $175 for a person to train jujitsu, well, if I charge $2,000 a month instead of $175 a month, what would happen to the 99% of people training jujitsu in America today? Like they would stop because the average person doesn't have $2,000 a month to train jujitsu, right? So now, does that mean that's wrong? No, right? California gas is $6 a gallon, and where I live in Florida, it's $2.90 a gallon, right? We all have to make business decisions, right? So back to the business conversation. So the biggest thing that literally, I mean, we might spend 5, 6, 7 hours with a person educating them so they can make an informed decision. And even with all of the great information, someone might pick up this dumb thing right here, this smart dumb thing that we all possess in our pockets almost at all the time. And they'll go read some random article that may or may not even be accurate or true. And then we get the opportunity to walk through those objections and those fears and those questions. And it's a fascinating journey. Seeing people get better, that's the easy part. helping them be ready to get out of their own way, that's
Mhm.
where we spend the most time. And jiu-jitsu, it's the same, right? You guys see it every day in your academies. You have the recipe for success. Come to class 2 or 3 days a week, focus when you're here, and your jiu-jitsu is going to get better. But then life gets in the way, and we let life get in the way. And it's the same for us on seeing people get healthy and well.
Mm.
Bruno, I'm gonna ask him something, and then if you want to ask, whatever you want, and after, related to
Mhm.
stem cell business or whatever, I want to
Mhm.
ask you, Kevin, what is one of a book that has made a big impact on you in a moment in your life that you feel that helped business, personal. So that means personal development book,
Mhm.
business, like one that at a certain specific time made an impact on you.
My biggest go-to book is by Napoleon Hill. It's called The Law of Success in 16 Lessons. It's a book I've been studying from entrepreneurship, personal development, dynamic, literally for 25 years now. And every year I reread the book. It's another year that my life gets better because I learned something at a deeper level. And I do a lot of business mentoring and consulting as well. And every person who uses this as part of their toolbox sees changes emotionally, spiritually, financially, physically, in just such profound ways. So there's so many great books out there, right? We definitely are not doing a good service by saying just one. But for me,
Yeah.
my go-to, I carry it with me. Oftentimes I got an audio version on my phone when I don't carry this big book. The Law of Success in 16 Lessons by Napoleon Hill.
Nice. Questions, Bruno?
I would like to ask Kevin because like I have brought him to my school, and then I'm planning to bring this year again, right? So like for the viewers and our listeners, and then because we're gonna have another like school owners, right? Like about asking Kevin how to be like the idea of like a presentation in school, like you go to school because that's part of the business as well to get to educate people and share people or share with people like the benefits of the stem cell therapy. So like that, how like people can get with you, and then like why do you feel that are the good parts of like being able to share with people, and if there's any challenge on sharing with people on that, like on the school environment.
Yeah, so back to, when Gustavo asked like what was the thing that, changed. I thought I was gonna miss out on not being able to be with people and share and teach and educate anymore, because that was what I was doing for so much of my life. And now I get to do that in the coolest environments. Like I literally pinch myself every day. Like almost every weekend I get to go to an academy, and I get to spend time with all of these amazing professors and coaches and students, to give these stem cell seminars in all of these jiu-jitsu academies all over the country. And it really, truly is my most favorite thing to do, to see those lights turn on, to see that hope come back, like, oh my gosh, this doesn't have to be my diagnosis, or I don't have to quit jujitsu, or I still can do jujitsu and still play soccer with my kid, as Bruno said earlier. So we have built an entire structure around partnering with academies all over the country that allow the academy to have access to this information and accessibility and affordability in a really powerful way. So New Hope, has really just gone headfirst into the jiu-jitsu world, and we have a really amazing partnership program for academies out there who want to be able to do exactly as you just said: bring New Hope in, share the information, have a great time, but more importantly, see their community heal, right? We're led to believe like you have to have certain letters after your name to help people get better in life, and that's not true. I believe we're anointed by a higher power. And so now we have academy owners that part of their, their toolbox is not only teaching good jujitsu, but then when their students get hurt or their students' family members get hurt, can be like, hey, I need you to talk to New Hope and Mr. Kevin or Miss Amy or the team or whoever. And now they're getting to add that into their business toolbox without having to take on the brunt of a bunch of extra work, right? Bruno, we've been doing this for 3 years now. You get to just be like, hey, talk with Mr. Kevin. And so Bruno gets to share the information. He doesn't have to be the expert. He just gets to connect them with us. And then we get to help them meet their goals. And it really is wonderful. And just like I get to say, like, hey, I don't teach jujitsu. So, you need to go train, with Mr. Bruno, if you're in Midland or you're not in Midland and you need to go to Midland, beautiful Midland to get some next level training. So that partnership really is what's really important for us and has been a huge blessing.
I had the opportunity to attend the one with you in North
At High
Carolina
Point.
last
Yeah,
year.
we were at High Point. Yeah.
When I was with Hobson Shaolin at
Yep.
Snyder's camp.
Yeah.
And a few months later, I saw at Hobson's camp, Chris Parks was speaking, and he has been a guest here on the podcast as well. I don't remember which episode, but I wanted to sum up a little bit of his story because it's, man, very powerful. I know Chris for a long time too, for many years, and he's been speaking for New Hope Regeneration because he is one of like the golden boys, right? Like when I have some of like the mental coaching that I have helped, I call some of the golden boys, the ones that really got impacted, for the thing.
Right.
And that was a full transformation with Chris. And I would love you to just kind of talk about his journey.
Yeah, so to give the synopsis on Chris, he has a great video on our YouTube page, as well as our Instagram. So if you want to hear the story from the horse's mouth, from the Sparky's mouth, that's a good way to do it. But essentially, Sparks was given a no hope diagnosis. He had 5 incurable, the famous, like, you're actually gonna die, right? They gave him a window. Here's when you're gonna die by. A couple of his mentors and really good friends and coaches said no, that we're not gonna pay attention to that. We're not gonna listen to that. We're gonna figure out something to do. We had met Coach Perry, Perry Gibson, had gotten therapy from us. Perry met us through, like Bruno and that whole group. So Perry comes and gets therapy. His shoulder gets a lot better, and then he says, Sparks, like, what else do we got to lose? Like, let's just try it. Let's see what happens. And that was September of 2022. He wasn't supposed to live past December of 2022, wasn't supposed to make it past Christmas. And now we're middle of July of 2024. He's traveling all over the country, sharing the hope for healing and mentoring people and helping people know that, you're not your diagnosis. And so it's just a tremendous story to see this man who, was told, like, and what I love most is that every year, hey, Kevin, I got another anniversary. Hey, Kevin, we got another birthday with my son, my daughter, right? We got another, and he is just the most kind, hopeful, generous, truly one of the most spectacular human beings, and is a leader by example. To know this guy was literally puking blood and having blood come out the other end, would go back into class and still teach class, and then take 2 minutes in the bathroom to go, and I'm not sharing anything that he wouldn't share, but like, this is how severe he was, right? He was so sick, and then he would go do his thing and then run back on the mats and keep teaching class. Like, literally, this is what he was doing. And he says it so well. I was teaching 45 classes a week. I was the picture perfect bill of health, and life still went sideways, right? So this is not just a shoulder issue. This is not just for if you have, ankle issues or hip issues, right? If you want to see your body change and get better, this can really provide an opportunity to do that. But the end result in that is better time, more time with the people that God is asking me to steward and mentor, whether that's my family, whether that's my students, whether that's my coaches that I want to lead. And again, we just are grateful that you guys have trusted us to be part of your journey moving forward. And I just pinch myself that I get to watch you guys, do all of the amazing things you do, and the level of leaders that you guys are. I'm surrounded by greatness, so I have no choice but to become better because you guys are pretty rad.
Something that was very impressive too. He was taking a lot of medication, right?
Yeah, he was on 17 prescriptions. That's not the amount of pills per day. That was 17 prescriptions, and all of those he had to take multiple times per day. So, and now he's not. Now he's again, his body has changed so much that he's not needing to take any of those anymore. So,
was on his black belt promotion. Maybe I will want the most like emotional black belt promotion I have ever seen for obvious reasons, like
yeah.
Hobson promoting him. And I remember Hobson saying like just don't give up. And then that was like I wanna say few months before he get the therapy review.
Mm-hmm.
And then like so remember like I remember to see him how debilitated he was, and then to hang out with him now, like when we go on tournaments or like seminars, all that stuff. The transformation, because like again, like you said, it's not like a hip or knee or was insane to see the transformation that he had. And like Perry said, like what else you have to lose? Like because sometimes all you need gonna be someone to extend a hand, and then like take a chance.
Yeah. And the crazy part about that, Sparks was like, nah, I'm okay. Like I'll wait until, and Perry was like, we're getting on the plane. Like as soon as Kevin can get us in, like we're getting on the plane. So Perry literally went and got him and flew him down to our office here in Florida. And this is what's so great, right? Like we hear about it because we see what happens for other people. Jiu-jitsu is the same, right? I saw what jujitsu did for my brother and his life and his, his being, and then what it did for all of the people that he was connected with. And then I'm just like, why jujitsu? Like, I don't like getting on the ground. Like, I don't like getting smothered and laid on. I'd rather get punched in the face. Like, that's more comfortable than, having someone like the size of a semi truck lay on you, right? Or having my first jujitsu class. I had a blue belt, 145-pound female choke me out at her will, right? And I was a lifelong martial artist, right? But that's the beauty behind this whole thing, right? It's not going to happen the way that we think it is. It's not going to be exactly the way that we want it to be in the moment, but everything that comes on the other end of that is better than what we could ever imagine.
Mm-hmm.
So, guys, we're getting close to the end of the interview, and one of the things that you mentioned earlier, Kevin, was how some people wait, something that happens to start a treatment. Some people started. So you always, I feel that it's in every professional help that you possibly need, you're gonna be reactive or proactive. It can be like, oh crap, I need help, or it can be proactive and like, hey, let's see.
Right.
So for people who want to, either way, they're reactive because they're in pain or they want to be proactive, what is the best way to contact you? Starts the process. They want to learn more about it. How do we go about it?
Yep. So newhoperegeneration.com is our website. We have a tremendous amount of resources on the website. We have podcasts, we have radio shows, we have seminars, videos that you can watch. We have, you can sign up for a complimentary consultation to get on the phone to talk with one of my talented, amazing medical team. And they can answer all of your questions. We are, for those of you that want to come say hello to us at Master Worlds, we're going to have a booth at Master Worlds. We're going to be at the Subversive Jiu-Jitsu Combat event at the Hard Rock Casino September 8th. New Hope is really starting to kind of be all over, but if you want to go get great information right now, newhoperegeneration.com is the best place and the best source. Our Instagram page has some really phenomenal, people sharing their stories and sharing how their their lives are different and changed because of doing therapy with us. So those are the best sources, all of you Instagram people, those of you that are out there, and then a good old-fashioned website, newhoperegeneration.com.
Beautiful. Bruno, people don't want to reach out. They want to go to Midland, Texas to train, want to learn more about it. Bruno also have Beyond Jiu-Jitsu Management. So got all kinds of things going on. So how they can learn more about you?
With me, like the easiest way to get in touch with me, Gustavo, would be through my Instagram, because I'm very active there. And pretty quick on responding people. So at Bruno Bastos BJJ. All right, and then also have the Instagram of my school at Bastos Jiu-Jitsu underline official. So those shows, like, and then on that one, my wife takes care of the Instagram, and then most of the time she direct the person to me. But to, like, on my one, I'm pretty active there, because I like to share not only what I do, but like the students and the management and everything. So I think that would be the easiest way to get in touch with me.
Awesome. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you for your time, Kevin, for explaining everyone. And hopefully people get to learn more and go online and get to know about it. And that's why every episode I do mention, a little bit here in Arizona, with a partnership with the IBJJF. People little by little gonna start learning more about it. And for sure, man, I can see in a few years a lot of people in the jiu-jitsu scene getting involved. And
That's right.
because it's just I mentioned because it's a legit testimonial. It's like, yo, dude, it did help me, like it's not like, yeah, I do that, and like, no, it's just it helped me, so maybe it can help you. It does. Again, we can never promise anything.
Right.
The medication can act, like how it's going to be in people's bodies is different, but for me, it worked. For Bruno too, and hopefully for you listening can help too.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. It just is truly an honor. Going to Bruno's school the first time and spending time with Bruno, really changed my life with jujitsu. And Gustavo, getting to spend, that afternoon with you and watching your skill set at mentoring and breaking down and the space that the two of you guys create for people, whoever they are, that want to get better, is something that has been very missing, I think, in mentorship and leadership. And so watching you guys live that by example, I just am grateful and I'm blessed beyond measure. And thank you guys for being a source for anybody who wants to get better, to be better mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You guys are amazing. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Have a great day. Ooze.
Ooh.